Recently, women from Nigeria's conservative north, popularly tagged Arewa, took to social media to expose decades of sexual violence, harassment, and abuse by men in their lives. These women broke through the silence and have gotten the world to pay attention. Fakhuus Hashim is a frontline member of Arewa MeToo movement. Fakhuus, tell me about this movement. How did it begin?
This movement began a little over 2 weeks ago when Khadija came out and she told us about her story on Twitter. And after she did that, the hashtag came up, and then people dwelled on it. We started talking about the issues that a lot of women are facing, kids, boys and girls in primary school, in secondary school, kids as young as 5. People started sending us messages through using the hashtag, and it just picked up from there.
I have been tracking the hashtag on Twitter myself, and it's been mind-boggling. Is this movement seeking justice for victims, or it's just a social media advocacy?
I think this movement is multifaceted, because for those that we can get justice for, we will pursue it. For those that we can get help for in terms of psychosocial support, we're pushing through that. We're using all avenues that we can tap into. We're preparing a march. Kaduna is going to be the first state, and we're working on the logistics and everything. So it's just blowing up from all fronts, and it's not centralized. Just yesterday, Maiduguri had their first meeting on Arewa MeToo. These were young people, girls and boys, that came together and brainstormed on how to alleviate our society of such a disease and how to ensure that silence is broken.
What does justice for these women mean to you?
It means them finding a way to heal and move on with their lives, move on to better things.
So does it also mean criminalizing perpetrators?
Yeah, we will pursue whatever means we can to get justice for them.
What does it say for those that defend pedophiles?
Well, it just proves that they're monsters. Because
does our culture abhor that?
I think not necessarily. I mean, we talk about morality, sexual morality, and all of those things. We try to put on a show that we're this society that sort of defends all of those things. But when you dig deeper, that's not really it, because a lot of us, and I'm saying us, have seen what pedophilia means. A friend of mine did a survey a couple of years ago amongst her friends. 8 out of 10 girls within every group she found out have encountered some manner of sexual harassment or sexual assault from as young as 6, 5.
We have seen cases where leading politicians in this country and clerics over the years have defended child marriage.
Right now, we're seeing studies come up after studies, people that have dug through history and finding out even the age that's speculated around isn't true. And the context of, we're talking about 1,400 years ago. You have to look at the cultural context and even the age. So I know this is one of the most controversial topics when it comes to the North, but way too many people spew what they hear without going to do a little background check on what it is that they're claiming.
One of your fellow activists was arrested yesterday by the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, Mariam Awaiso. if I got that name correctly. Tell us about that case.
It's pending. She's been released and she's doing fine. That much I can tell you.
Why SARS? Why was SARS involved in her arrest?
I guess the petition. And that's all I can say for now.
Was it involving this movement or it was a different case entirely?
It's involving the movement and it's quite a specific case.
But the records show that there has been less success in terms of prosecution for sexual offenders in Nigeria. I mean, if you look at police reports and you go across the country, you find out that a handful, I think Lagos State is one of the states that seems to have recorded a much more higher number in terms of prosecution for perpetrators. Do you think this should move, the movement should also navigate into advocacy for a proper legislation for perpetrators of this crime?
I think that's one of the most important things, because the loopholes in our law kind of allows for the sexual perpetrators to get away with so much. The law is tilted against the victims. So, and then you have the cultural factor that mostly affect such cases, and even the reach of victims to the authorities, because the law is, justice is, the power is quite centralized in Nigeria as a whole. So victims having access to, that degree of justice is kind of, it's complicated. It's more complicated than it's...
Talking about power, a lot of influential, powerful men and women, like you rightly pointed out, will try to silence you in the course of this movement. Are you prepared for what is to come?
Like I've said, when we started this movement, we knew what we were getting ourselves into. I've been involved in a lot of politics, especially online. I know, the kind of backlash a person can face, and I am prepared to take full responsibility for my participation in this. I'm not going to withdraw from it, so I'm going to commit to it to whatever ends.
Surfing through the hashtag Arewa MeToo, I've seen a lot of boys or men also sharing their stories.
Yeah.
Is this movement advocating for their own struggles as well, or is it just a woman movement of such?
As we made it clear, this is not exclusive to women, because time and time again, we've heard stories, we've read reports about boys being molested in secondary schools. I, for one, have been close to people that have been impacted by such cases. And even 2 weeks ago, there was a story that was circulating, which was verified, about the Kuje School of Disabled, about a kid that was repeatedly raped. And because he was deaf, he couldn't communicate. They used that as a means of further silencing him. So we cannot exclude boys and men from this conversation, because we've had men and boys reach out to us, and they're just as important to the movement as the girls. And one of our priorities is ensuring that they get the mental help that they need.
See the Arewa MeToo spring up into a Nigerian MeToo movement for the long term?
I hope it does. I hope it does. And I hope it does, because sexual violence is not exclusive to Arewa. It's not exclusive to Nigeria. It's not exclusive to Africa. It's everywhere you go. But that does not mean that it should be like that, because we're talking about a struggle for human dignity. So this is global. So, and the reason why we have a Me Too is because someone in some continent started speaking about this. From the hashtag, Me Too originated from the US. And now it has sprung into Arewa MeToo. And we'll get into Nigeria MeToo, because no one, it's bigger than all of us. No one person can do it. No one region can do it. Like, we have to come collectively and join hands. Every community. We're seeing progress as of now. The first step is for us to get the conversation going. And people are talking about it, which is very important. When you talk about things, people, what's been at the back of everyone's mind comes forth, and it sparks the conversation deeper and deeper. And sooner than later, the authorities would have to get involved. And when I talk about authority, I mean the government. We've seen Sierra Leone call a state of emergency over rape. So that's the kind of thing that we want to spark. We want to ensure that there are these reforms in terms of our law, and how these things are handled, how victims are treated, a shift in perspectives. Victims often keep quiet because they will be shamed. They'll be told that they have no dignity again, and this is how people look at them. But we want victims to be emboldened, to know that it's not their responsibility that they got raped or they got abused. That entire responsibility lies on the back of their perpetrator. So, empowering these women or these men or boys to actually understand that it's never their fault is a priority, because a change in perspective, especially in this case, can go a long way.
We want victims to be emboldened. Fakhuus Hashim, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.